because I was a Christian all my life, for 25 years, my entire family is Christian. Because I was a Christian, I understand what it's like when you think someone is about to speak down or speak negatively on your religion. You automatically go into defense mode and you want to reject everything that you hear. I'm asking that you do not reject what I am saying. I ask that you just open your mind. Listen to what I'm saying. Watch this video with an open mind. I am not going to come off, I will not be condescending. I will try my hardest not to come off as condescending. And so the way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to talk about why I am no longer a Christian, why I have decided to no longer be a Christian. I'm going to do this in a 3-part video. And because I can't do it all in one, we'll be sitting here all day. I'm going to do this in a 3-part video. The first video, which today I'm going to do, is going to be very simple. Something that you don't have to do too much research on. It's pretty much a common sense thing. You know what I mean? And that reason, the first reason is because I'm African. I'm black. Okay? Now, I want y'all to think back to when they first started to say that, they want to do it with the Confederate flag. My people went out of their way to find all of the historical facts as to why the flag was racist. And they were my people were historians. I'm telling you, they were all up and down my timeline. They had all these historical facts as to what it meant to our people, what the Confederate flag meant to black people. You know what I mean? And you wanted to do away with the flag because you knew the history of it. You knew the racism in it. You knew what it meant to black people. The same thing with Christianity. Now that I know the history of it, and I know what it means to black people, what it meant to black people, I have given up that religion. Okay? Africans were forced into Christianity during slavery. Okay? Before we came over here, we were not Christians. We had something called divine spirituality. Okay? We were forced into Christianity by the same people that beat us and raped us and tortured us and lynched us. Okay? Now, they did these things to us Monday through Saturday, and then Sunday they gave us Jesus. Now, I want you to ask yourself, with someone that did these things to us, these horrible things, raping and beating and torturing, lynching, breaking our families apart, they had someone come over and give them methods on how to keep us mentally weak. With someone that does these things to us, give us a religion that is going to uplift us and empower us. Now, in the very first video that I posted, I talked about Willie Lynch. Willie Lynch went from plantation to plantation, giving the slave masters different methods on how to keep us mentally weak, how to make us hate each other as people. And he said that if effective, his methods would work for 200 plus years. That was in the 1800s. And 200 plus years later, his methods still work very well with us. We are still very much mentally enslaved. Willie Lynch spoke very highly of King James, as in King James Version Bible. Yes, that King James. He spoke very highly of him. Now, with someone that is giving methods on how to keep us mentally weak, speak highly of someone that's writing a book that is meant to empower and uplift us, I want you to ask yourself that question. I'm not going to answer any of these questions that I'm asking, by the way. I want you to ask yourself. I want you to think, which is something my people don't do too much. Think. I want you to think. Okay? Now, he spoke highly of this man that writes a book that is meant to uplift and empower us. Now, the Bible does condone slavery. Yes, I know that there are parts in the Bible that does, people, when I say that, people always mention Pharaoh and then people go, yes, that is in the Bible, but it also condones it. That's one problem with Christians. They always just look at one part of the Bible and ignore the rest of it. You can't do that. If it's in there, it's in there. Okay? And so there are many verses that condone slavery. My personal favorite is Ephesians 6:5. Slaves, obey your earthly masters with fear and respect, and sincerity as part, just as you would obey Christ. Now, if a slave master reads that verse, what does he think? He's thinking, okay, so my slave is supposed to obey me, supposed to fear me, supposed to respect me the same way he does Christ. Okay? So now that they've given us this religion, they give us the scripture, and what does the scripture say to a slave's mind is, okay, I'm supposed to treat this white man like Christ. So subconsciously, it associates the white man with Christ. It associates the white man with God. So what that does is it makes the white man a superior and it makes the black man an inferior. So that's what that does. It makes you, and it brings you down. It makes you think the white man is up here and you're all the way down here. You know what I mean? That's one of the things that the religion did to black people. Okay? Now if a slave master and a slave has the same God, whose prayer does this biblical God answer? If the slave master is praying for his slave to be respectful and fearful and obedient, what is the slave praying for? Freedom. Well, for centuries, the slaves didn't have freedom. So whose prayers were being answered? You ask yourself that question. And there was a law written in 1705 in the Virginia Slave Act. You can look this up. And that law said that any person shipped over here from a Christian country was to be a servant. And the servant was to have decent food, decent clothing, decent shelter, and they were not to be whipped naked. If they were to be whipped, they had to keep their clothes on. And any slave master that did whip them naked had to pay that servant. That was a law now. That same law also states that any person shipped over here from a non-Christian country, that would be us, black Christians, that's us, you would be a slave, and we all know how they treat the slave, and then you would be converted into Christianity. That is a law written in 1705, Virginia Slave Act. Look it up. Now, there were mothers, slaves that were mothers, that they would raise their children up to be Christians. From birth, they would raise them up to obey their masters and everything, and they were Christians, and they would take them to the slave masters, like, okay, so will you accept my child? Can my child be free? Because they're Christian. And so they had to make another law. It's in the Virginia Slave Code Act. Look it up. They had to make another law that said that Christianity will not bring you freedom. You cannot be free just because you are a Christian. And you are not exempt from any other treatment, any other punishment that any other slaves get. They had to make a law because of that. Because mothers were raising their children to be Christian. And they felt like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead and accept this religion. But will you at least accept my child because we accepted your religion? And no, they didn't. And so they had to make a law because of that. So I want you to just ask yourself, are you sure that you're serving who you think you're serving? This was a religion given to us by white men. We did not have this religion before we came over here as slaves. Okay? And there are thousands of religions around the world. Everyone thinks that their religion is the correct religion. Everyone. Okay? And I think that's one of the reasons why black people are so divided because of religion. You know, everyone is divided because of religion, but black people, I think more so than any other race, we are everywhere when it comes to religion. Like other races, the majority of them, you know, pretty much practice the religion for their people. Black people are everywhere. They have no idea what religion they're supposed to have. And the reason we're so confused about it is because we did not come from religion. We come from spirituality. And so if you think that Christianity is the correct religion, then that means that you subconsciously are grateful for slavery. You are grateful for racism. Because if there was no racism, if there was no slavery, you would not be a Christian. And you and all of our people would burn in hell if there were no racism and slavery. If that's what you think. Okay? If you think that Christianity is correct, if you think it is the right religion, that means that you have an ancestor somewhere in heaven that was lynched. And he's in heaven with the very same men that lynched him. That is your logic with your religion. Okay? Now, like I said, I just want you all to think about everything that I'm saying. I'm not trying to make you convert or anything. I just want you to think. I don't want you to think like me, man. I just want you to think. That's all I want you to do. Okay? Now, like I said, this video was very simple. Everything was pretty much common sense. It's not something that you have to do too much research on unless you want to go do some research on Willie Lynch and the Virginia Slave Code and the Virginia Slave Acts. You know, that's something that I would, suggest you do some research on. But everything else is pretty much common sense. You just use your brain to think about that. Would they give us a religion? Slave masters give us a religion that's going to uplift us and empower us. You don't have to be atheist just because you're not Christian. You don't. I'm not an atheist. I gave up my religion, and I have never been closer to the Most High than I am now. Ever. So, that's it for today. I love you all.